Okay, as part of my diagnostic to fix this strange knocking noise, I bought myself an oil pressure tester. The engine's cold, so I'm just going to fire it up and let's see what the oil pressure is. Just having a quick look around where I've installed it down there. Yeah, no leaks. Okay, good. Let's fire it up real quick, see what we get. Okay, so it's idling 20 psi on idle when it's cold, so just over actually. Okay, now the engine's warm, got very little oil pressure, 5 maybe? I mean, we've got it, but it's low. Okay, so before I do what I normally do, which is jump into the worst possible case scenario possible, which is that the bottom end of the engine or something inside the engine is causing this noise, this knocky noise. I'm trying to eliminate all variables. So the first one was me basically making sure my exhausts weren't knocking anywhere, that nothing was hitting the steering column, and that's all fine. Okay, so rocking the engine back and forth, not really any sort of real noise, nothing else obvious. I also then checked the rest of the exhausts all the way to the back of the car. Nothing hitting the body that could cause such a similar noise. This was secure. This wasn't causing a horrendous knock or anything. I removed the drive belt to stop all the pulleys to make sure there was no pulley noise. Still knocking. Okay, not good. The next stage was to get under the car here, and in doing so I realised that a couple of things were wrong. First one being this. So what I'm looking at here is this is the remote, so the sandwich plate to relocate the oil filter because the anti-roll bar was in the way. Now this has been dropped down, as you can see, but actually it lives up here, right? Now, it turns out that this, in fact I can feel the rough edge here, and you can kind of see a little bit of damage there. In fact, yeah, right there, you see it? It's kind of, oops, sorry, let's focus. See that? And here too. Jeez. That was caused by the engine being in contact with the anti-roll bar. And that was what was the cause of all the vibrations into the chassis, because obviously I've got all these are polybushed, so they don't really absorb any vibration, and I could feel the vibrations in, you know, in the doors and everything. The second I dropped this anti-roll bar, all that vibration stopped. I'd isolate the engine to just the rubber engine mounts up here. Okay, so that's the first stage. It was still knocking though, so one problem down. Still the issue. Now, regards this, I don't want to raise the engine any more than it has to be, because I've already got to put a thermal insulator plate on the carb, which is going to raise the carb up by 1/2 inch, and I'm really getting close to running out of bonnet clearance, even with low air filter. So, what's quite common in the Escort boys do it quite a bit, is to actually add a spacer plate. So this is the mount like this, which obviously goes into here, but you can buy or engineer, which I'm probably going to do, a spacer plate at the right level to basically bring this anti-roll bar down from being all the way up here to maybe a centimetre or so lower. Okay, it is 11 AM on Saturday morning, and I'm going to investigate something else that may be contributing to this problem and my low oil pressure. So down here there is a oil pressure relief valve which obviously regulates the pressure in the oil. And if it gets stuck, which is notoriously they can do, then the oil basically gets returned to the sump and the pressure doesn't build. There's a chance that it's stuck. Also, I didn't replace it or check it when I was redoing the timing cover in the oil pump. Why? Beats me. Again, I'm not a mechanic. I'm just kind of like floundering through all this, so that's my mistake, and it's a very important part. So to get the sump off, which I know you guys really want me to do right now, it would mean dropping the cross member and everything else, so there's a lot of work involved in doing that, and I'm just trying to do my little quick hits to just knock out as much as I can, as I keep saying. So next job is to get that off. Okay, so I've got the Circlip off, which is here. It came off this thing right here. There's a blanking plate though on it, and I'm not actually sure how to get this blanking plate off. Okay, I got it out. Not good. It took a few taps from Mr. Persuader over here, Mr. Persuasive, and his friend. And this spring's under a lot of pressure. This thing shot out and nearly hit me in the eye. But yeah, it's out now. It's really rusty. And the actual valve itself is stuck in there still. So I'm working on trying to get that out. While I'm under here, another thing I've tried is to jam the flywheel in place. So I used a big pry bar to lock the flywheel in place, and then I grabbed I rotated the crank pulley with a big ratchet to see if there's any play, in thinking maybe the flywheel itself was loose, but no, it's completely rock solid. I couldn't remember what I used to attach the flywheel. I'm sure I did it okay. Anyway, there's no movement of the flywheel, so that's also ruled out. All right, so I'm done now with this debugging. I was gonna say I'm a programmer, but no, this diagnostic kind of process. You see that I've tried pretty much everything, which is including checking the oil pressure. Yeah, it was low, and from that we found that the oil relief valve was stuck, or basically sticking. I can't actually get it out. I'm going to get the timing cover off, but I can't get the timing cover off because I can't get the crank pulley off, because the crank pulley fouls the front crossmember, which means I've got to get the engine out regardless, which kind of sucks. So as you can see, I'm having a beer here, drying my sorrows a little bit. So my next steps, I'm gonna have to get the engine out, so that's gonna cost more oil, liquids. It's not really a big thing, and then assess the damage. I think the first step will be to obviously take off the carb. I could leave it in place, but I've actually got to fit the spacer plates anyway, so I'd rather remove the carb so it doesn't get, you know, damaged on the engine removal process, as you know, things can fly around, things can get trapped and stuck, and that could cause the linkages to bend and this, that and the rest. So the carb's coming off, and I'll probably just disconnect the headers at the actual pipe connection and then use the exhaust manifolds as the actual engine hoist points, because I can't fit the engine hoist points back to the carb because they rub against the rocker covers. So there's lots of different stuff to sort of figure out. I'm sorry if I'm droning on. I'm trying to try and fill you guys in as to where I am. The bonnet's got to come off because the crane will hit the bonnet, which is trying to get the engine out, and I've got to get the gearbox off again because there won't be enough room to swing the gearbox out as well, given that there's such a small space in these Capri engine bays to begin with. And my arm's getting very tired holding my phone. But yeah, so I've got, it's will be happening for a few weeks, as I've got a lot of business travel I've got to go to, be out of the country. So unfortunately I can't proceed with this as much as I wanted to. My goal too was my 30th. I bought the car on my 21st birthday 9 years ago. So my goal was to actually have it out for my 30th, back like I first got it, which would be awesome, but obviously that's been crushed. But yeah, so anyway, I think what I'll probably do is do all the engine pull video and then show you the damage, if there, whatever damage there is, and then the repair procedure, and then back in the car again. There's a load more things I need to do as well, which includes the thermal spacer on the carb to prevent the heat soak from boiling the fuel in the float bowls. Can't speak today. And also the new cooling fans I need to fit to ensure that, you know, the car stays as cool as I want it to be. In pull configuration, before it was a push, didn't work very well. Pull seems to work. And one last thing also too is relocating the anti-roll bar. These little clamps here are what hold the anti-roll bar in place, and the engine's actually fouling against them, causing vibration through the chassis. So I'm going to get a spacer plate and space the actual anti-roll bar down about 10 mil. Yeah, so anyway, sorry it's going to take a bit longer, but I'll try and get there. Cheers.